He tweeted out, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that it was a disgrace that while he was negotiating with Kim Jong-un, the Michael Cohen testimony was going on. I know you had a few things to say about that as well. What do you think came out of that Michael Cohen testimony last week?
Well, first of all, he's right about this. There has always been, regardless whether you're Republican or Democrat, politics in at the water's edge. And what that means is if the president is overseas, we act as one. We don't do this partisan items. And think about what happened last week. You reported 2.6% growth when people thought 2.2. Here we have an economy growing stronger than we thought.
The GDP was better than
we have the president overseas negotiating the reduction or the elimination of nuclear weapons with North Korea on the exact same day they bring somebody in who is going to jail, who wants to do a book or movie deal, who it's a personal vendetta against the president. This is what they put on world stage while he's negotiating. Never before have we seen this in our politics in America. They dislike this president so much that they would go the hatred over the love of the country, which I thought was wrong on all sides.
You've been talking a lot about Adam Schiff. He's been out there saying, look, forget about the Mueller report. We're going to get the president's taxes. We're going to look at his business deals of building in Moscow. How are you dealing with this in terms of now being in the minority? Everything has changed. Your party doesn't have the subpoena power. Tell me how things have changed and what you're looking to accomplish here.
Well, things have changed, but first, not just being in the minority, think of Adam Schiff is now chair of the Intel Committee.
Right.
Adam Schiff has laid out so many of his own standards for everybody else across Congress of whether they can sustain and be in charge of something, about making sure the ability that people can trust it. What have we found out with Adam Schiff in the last little bit? One, that he met in Aspen with Glenn Simpson, who is the co-owner of Fusion GPS. Well, Nellie Orr worked where her husband worked at the Justice Department. At the same time he was meeting with Glenn Simpson, Glenn Simpson was being the interest inside the Intel Committee, believed that he did not tell the truth or his statements were different than other statements, so they wanted to relook at him. Now we find out in the Cohen investigation that, yeah, he was talking to Cohen. He, his staff, somebody. We asked this question of Cohen, and Cohen said that. That didn't happen before.
So they were coaching him.
Yes, but the other thing we found out, too, is, remember when we tried to find out who paid for this dossier? It was Schiff who fought in there for us not to find out that we had to go to court. These are all questions that have to get answered, but in Schiff's own standards of whether he should have to recuse himself, he has just met that standard. He should have to step back from any investigation inside the Intel Committee when it comes to investigating the president because of the basis of the actions.
Has he responded to your calls for him to step down and recuse himself from these issues?
You know, I put this out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He got asked this on CBS yesterday. He seemed to get very upset because I think we probably hit a chord here, because Adam Schiff has laid this standard out for every other member of Congress of whether somebody can trust any investigation they do based upon their actions. Based upon his actions now, he has surpassed his own standard, and he should step back from any investigation of the president of leading it.
We got Judge Napolitano coming up. I want to ask him his thoughts on this. I want to bring you in for that as well.
Perfect.
So we're going to talk more about that. But let me ask you this, Congressman. Does $22 trillion mean anything to you? Let's talk about the national debt concerns. The U.S. officially hitting the debt ceiling, topping a record $22 trillion, up $19.95 trillion when President Trump first took office in January 17. What is your plan to tackle this?
Well, first of all, this is the greatest threat to America. Every great society collapses when they overextend themselves. And with the challenges, and you say it started with the president at 19 to 22, this is money that had been spent already or been promised already. The real challenge we have to this country, and one thing that we have done well in this last 2 years, is you had to get growth up. But you got to curtail the spending at the same time you're getting growth going, and we've got growth going at this time.
Yeah, you've got growth going, that's for sure.
If you look at, there's two types of spending, discretionary and mandatory. Discretionary, we have caps on. Discretionary, we actually spent less than the last time the Democrats were in the majority to the now. When I handed Nancy Pelosi that gavel, discretionary, where the Republicans were in the majority, we were spending less than when we won the gavel. It is the mandatory spending, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and interest on the debt. If the interest rate just moves up a little bit, that will be an unbelievable break.
Right.
We could go in the near future spending more on the interest than we spend on our military.
Well, that's what Maya McGinnis said. She joined me this last week, the president for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and she said that there's real consequences of this growing debt. Watch what she said.
We are on an unsustainable path where the debt relative to the economy is the highest it's ever been, other than just after World War II. And even more troubling is that it's growing faster and faster every year, faster than the economy. And this is happening at a time when the economy is so strong, which is exactly when you would expect your debt situation to be getting under control. So much of it is self-imposed. If you look at this year's budget deficit, 60% of it is from new legislation that was passed in the past 4 years or so.
And as interest rates rise, that interest on the debt is rising, and you're predicting it's going to be $1 billion a day.
Yeah, the interest is the fastest growing part of the budget, and by 2025, we will spend more on interest than on defense. That is not a recipe for a country or an economy that will stay strong.
But it's hard to tackle it because of what you said. It's the entitlements, but also it's the spending. Can you identify any areas where we actually could pull in on spending, Congressman?
Oh, I think you could find spending savings in everything that you do. But one of the challenges that I have the most problem with, we came so close to making one of the entitlement reforms that would have been one of the biggest abilities to maintain something but save it in the future. When we were going to repeal and replace Obamacare and we came one vote short,
yes,
that is one of the biggest problems that we have. And when you deal with mandatory spending, it's not about one party, because it takes 60 votes in the Senate for anything you want to do there. And even if you shut down government, that mandatory spending still goes on and going forward. That's why both parties needs to come together. We had at one time that commission moving, thinking you'd do it. We got to find something that put real teeth, put both sides together, and make this the #1 issue going forward, because she is 100% correct. We have never been at this percentage at this type of time with debt outside of trying to save the world during World War II.
And once we're over,
it
feels like the markets don't react.
I think the world markets don't react the same. You look at what happened in Europe, where they have zero negative rates going forward. But once you start paying more in interest than you do in anything else, think about what that's crowding out. Think about the opportunity it's taking away for the children of the future.
Yeah.
Think about, if you want the next century to be America's, this is the #1 threat we have to this country.